10 early signs of ADHD in children that parents often miss until it's too late. Did you know that ADHD, or Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, can often go unnoticed in children for years? It's a condition that affects millions, but many parents and caregivers don't realize their child might have it until much later. Now, imagine this. What if I told you that there are early signs, small, subtle things, that you might be seeing in your child every single day, and yet they've been overlooked? These signs could make a world of difference, and by recognizing them, you could start making positive changes that help your child thrive today. You might think of ADHD as something obvious, a child who can't sit still or a kid who constantly interrupts others. But the truth is, ADHD doesn't always look the way we expect it to. It doesn't always involve dramatic outbursts or hyperactive behaviors. Sometimes the signs are much quieter, more easily missed. And that's exactly why so many parents end up frustrated, confused, or feeling like something just isn't right, but they don't know what it is. Let's be honest, raising children can already be challenging enough. Throw in the everyday stress of managing school, extracurriculars, meals, and family life, and it's easy to overlook certain behaviors. But here's the thing, identifying ADHD early on isn't just important, it can change the entire course of your child's life. By understanding the signs early, you can set them up for success, help them build the skills they need to manage their impulses, stay organized, and grow into their full potential. But you might be asking yourself, how can I know for sure if my child has ADHD? Well, in this video, we're going to explore some of the early, often hidden signs of ADHD in children that parents, teachers, and even doctors sometimes miss. These are signs that go beyond just being energetic or forgetful. The earlier you catch these behaviors, the sooner you can help your child develop the strategies that will support them for a lifetime. So stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll have a much clearer idea of whether or not these signs are affecting your child and how you can respond in a way that makes a real difference. Let's get started with the first early sign that you might be missing. 1. Inconsistent attention. It's not just daydreaming. Children with ADHD may struggle with focusing even during activities they enjoy. Have you noticed your child zoning out while doing something they actually love? It's not unusual for children with ADHD to show a lack of attention even during fun activities. It's not about disinterest, it's more about their brains constantly shifting focus, making it hard to stay engaged. If you've seen your child get distracted halfway through their favorite game or project, it might be more than just a typical childhood distraction. To help, break tasks into smaller, more manageable steps. Start with 5-minute time blocks where the focus is solely on one activity, like homework. You can use a timer to create structure, which makes it easier for them to manage their attention. Try incorporating fun, interactive learning tools like educational apps or games that break things down visually so the task doesn't feel overwhelming. By keeping it short and sweet, you'll encourage sustained attention and allow them to feel a sense of accomplishment. I know you're here because you care about your child's development, but if you don't subscribe, you're not committing to the support you deserve. It's a small step. Hit that button, and let's make sure you're always one step ahead. Number 2, difficulty following instructions. If your child seems to forget instructions quickly or can't follow through, this might be more than just a normal, forgetful moment. We've all experienced it. You ask your child to do something like cleaning up their toys, but a minute later, they've forgotten the task entirely, or they don't complete it as asked. It's easy to chalk it up to forgetfulness, but for children with ADHD, it could be a sign that they struggle with processing and retaining multiple step instructions. A parent I spoke with noticed that every time they gave their child a task, like putting away their backpack, the child would forget one part of the instruction, like putting the books in the right place. By starting to give instructions in smaller chunks and breaking them down into one step at a time actions, they noticed a huge improvement. It wasn't about forgetting, but more about being overwhelmed with too many tasks at once. Number 3, impulsivity. Impulsivity isn't just about blurting out answers in class. It can also look like interrupting others during conversations or acting without thinking, like grabbing something they want without considering the consequences. These behaviors can make everyday interactions challenging, but they're also common signs of ADHD. To help, set up simple routines that help your child pause and think before acting. Teach them a pause and think strategy before making decisions. You can do this by playing pause and think games, where they have to stop and think through their choices before responding or acting. You can also use visual cues like stop signs to remind them to slow down in moments of impulsivity. I've seen a parent use a fun interactive game where their child would have to answer a question after waiting for 5 seconds. This small moment of thinking time helped the child learn how to control impulsive responses and practice self-control. You don't have to struggle through this journey without the right support. ADHD Positive Parenting for Boys and Girls by Sharon Davin and the other books I've linked in the description can transform the way you approach parenting your child with ADHD. Click the link in the description, or you might find yourself going in circles without the right answers. Number 4, emotional outbursts. Frequent emotional outbursts or tantrums might seem like just a behavioral issue, but they could be a sign of ADHD. Emotional outbursts can feel like they come out of nowhere. One minute your child seems fine, and the next they're crying, shouting, or completely falling apart. It's easy to think it's just a tantrum, but for kids with ADHD, these outbursts can be tied to the emotional regulation difficulties that come with the condition. Teaching emotional regulation techniques can really help. Try using deep breathing exercises or introduce simple visual cues like a calm down poster in their room or classroom. Have your child practice breathing in for 4 counts, holding for 4, and then exhaling for 4. It might sound simple, but these strategies can work wonders in helping a child feel more in control during overwhelming moments. Number 5, hyperactivity. Hyperactivity is often one of the most obvious signs, but it's not always just about running around. It can also look like fidgeting or feeling restless during quiet times. We often associate hyperactivity with kids who can't sit still, but it's not always as obvious as that. For children with ADHD, even in quiet moments, they might still feel restless. This could show up as constant fidgeting, squirming, or difficulty remaining still. I spoke with a parent whose child couldn't see seated during movie time. While other kids were quietly watching the screen, this child was constantly shifting, tapping, and making noise. At first, it seemed like just an attention-seeking behavior, but it was actually the child's way of dealing with inner restlessness. Encourage physical activity as a way to release built-up energy. Set up movement breaks throughout the day where your child can stretch, dance, or run around. This can make a big difference in their ability to sit still when it's time to focus. If you haven't subscribed yet, ask yourself, why? Is it fear of commitment? Because trust me, not subscribing is much more dangerous than you think. Don't let confusion, frustration, or doubt control your journey. Subscribe and make sure you're always on the right path. 6. Trouble with transitions. Struggling to switch between tasks or activities can be a hidden sign of ADHD. Children with ADHD often need more time to transition. Has your child ever struggled with transitioning from one activity to another? This can be especially tricky when a child is absorbed in something they enjoy. For kids with ADHD, transitions can be challenging, and they might experience anxiety or frustration when it's time to switch gears. Try using timers or countdowns to help your child prepare for changes. If it's time to leave the park, for example, let them know, "In 5 minutes, we'll start heading home," and give a final reminder when it's time. This gives them a sense of control and helps reduce anxiety around transitions. 7. Disorganization. Do you find your child's room or backpack in constant chaos? It might be a sign that they have trouble staying organized. If your child's space always seems to be a mess, it's more than just being untidy. Disorganization is a hallmark symptom of ADHD. Children with ADHD often struggle to keep track of their belongings, which can lead to frustration at school, home, and in social settings. I know a parent whose child was always misplacing homework or forgetting their lunchbox. They worked together to create a simple organizational system using labeled folders and a checklist for school supplies. The child quickly began to improve their ability to stay organized. To help, set up systems for your child, like using color-coded folders for different subjects or keeping a checklist on the fridge for daily tasks. Make sure everything has a designated place so it's easy to find when needed. 8. Difficulty listening. If your child seems to be constantly tuning out when you speak, even during important conversations, it might be worth investigating ADHD. Does your child seem to not hear you when you're speaking to them? You might ask them to do something and they either don't respond or forget what was said almost immediately. For children with ADHD, this can be a sign of difficulty processing auditory information. I've seen parents where the child would appear to be ignoring their instructions. In one case, the parent noticed that breaking the instructions down into smaller chunks helped the child follow through. Instead of saying, "Get your shoes on and pack your bag," they would say, "First, put your shoes on, then come back and grab your bag." Here's a thought. If you don't subscribe right now, you might find yourself in the same place tomorrow wondering what you could have done differently. Don't wait for another chance. Subscribe today and be proactive in getting the help your child deserves. 9. Poor sleep patterns. Children with ADHD often experience disrupted sleep patterns, trouble falling asleep or staying asleep throughout the night. Sleep difficulties are common in children with ADHD. They might take longer to fall asleep, wake up during the night, or have restless sleep. To help, establish a calming bedtime routine. Use dim lights, soft music, and limit screen time an hour before bed. This helps signal to your child's brain that it's time to wind down. 10. Struggles with social interaction. Children with ADHD might find it challenging to pick up on social cues or maintain friendships. Understanding social rules can be difficult for kids with ADHD. They might interrupt conversations, struggle with turn-taking, or miss out on nonverbal cues. A parent I spoke with used role-playing exercises with their child to help them practice greeting friends and waiting their turn to speak. To help, encourage social skill development through playdates, group activities, and social stories that teach appropriate behaviors in different social situations. You've been watching, learning, and absorbing these insights, but without ADHD Positive Parenting for Boys and Girls by Sharon Davin and the other helpful books I've listed in the description, you're missing out on the deeper knowledge that could change everything. Don't risk feeling unprepared. Click the link now and get the guidance you deserve. So, do any of these signs sound familiar? Maybe you've noticed your child zoning out during a movie or struggling to keep track of their schoolwork. Or perhaps they've had a tough time making friends because they don't pick up on social cues the way other kids do. If so, you're definitely not alone. Parenting a child with ADHD can sometimes feel like a game of trial and error, and it can be incredibly frustrating when you're unsure what's really going on. But now that you know more about these signs, I want to hear from you. Do you recognize any of these behaviors in your child? How have you managed them at home or school? Maybe you found strategies that work for you or tried something that didn't quite click. Share your experiences in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and hear what's been helpful for your family. After all, we're all learning from each other. If you found these tips helpful, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps us reach even more parents who could benefit from this information. And while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That way, you won't miss any of our upcoming videos on how to support kids with ADHD and other developmental needs. We've got so many more insights coming your way, from strategies to improve focus in school to ways to help your child manage their emotions more effectively. You won't want to miss any of it. So hit the notification bell as well so you'll be the first to know when we post something new. Together, we're building a community of parents and caregivers who support one another, and I'm so glad you're part of it. So let's quickly go over what we've talked about today. If your child is having trouble focusing, getting easily distracted, or struggling to finish tasks even when they enjoy them, that could be a sign of ADHD. If they're constantly interrupting, acting impulsively, or having emotional outbursts, these too can point to ADHD. You might also notice issues with staying organized, remembering instructions, or transitioning between activities. And don't forget the social challenges. Difficulty picking up on social cues or maintaining friendships is another key sign. It's important to recognize these behaviors early, because the sooner you can identify them, the sooner you can get the right support and strategies in place. Early detection truly is key in helping your child manage ADHD and thrive both at home and at school. It's not just about understanding the signs. It's about making sure your child gets the tools they need to succeed. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that by now you feel more equipped to recognize these early signs and understand what steps you can take to help your child. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps us reach more parents who need this information. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe so you won't miss out on future videos on all kinds of tips and advice for helping kids with ADHD and other developmental needs. We've got so many more tips and advice coming your way, plenty more tips and advice coming your way, all geared towards supporting kids with ADHD and other developmental needs. And before you go, make sure to share your thoughts in the comments. Whether you have questions or experiences to share, I'd love to hear from you. Let's keep this conversation going. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.